thank you for coming here today. Thank you for making it. I know it was very short notice. I mean, we keep changing the timelines and everything multiple times, but I'm glad we could like find time finally.
Thank you so much, Rakshit. I was feeling guilty that for a month we were saying that we'll do the podcast this weekend, day after tomorrow, and then finally we're doing it today. So
Yes,
I'm glad
sir.
to be here.
But I'm really glad that I could do this with you because so before this I did it with Keld and I met the two of you in our college for the first time. Right? I told him also about this. So it was in my second year we launched this club called Humor Club, and then we were like, okay, what's the best way to inaugurate this club is by inviting stand-up comics. And you came in, Kel came in. I remember picking up Kel and another friend of mine, Amandeep, like he picked you up. Yeah, and then you came and you killed it. And then I saw the same thing like in Comicstaan. I was like, dude, Shunky is here.
Thank you. That's very nice. When Kel told me that he's done this podcast and he's had a good time, I was like damn excited because you reached out to Kel way before and you did the podcast with him.
Yeah.
And I also remember the time when we'd come to to the college and all the students were seated and Kel and I had a great set.
Yeah.
So it's great that from there, that was a couple of years ago.
That was
2018?
20. Yeah, 20. No, not even 2018. It was 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from then to now, I mean, like you also like had such a transition from there to now. So I mean, to people who don't know you, why don't you tell them like a little bit about you and how your journey has been? How do you even get into stand-up?
So my name is Shankar Chugani and I'm also called Shunky most often. I've been doing stand-up in Bangalore for over 9.5 years. I done stand-up for about 4.5 years when I got selected for a show called Comicstaan, and I was part of that show. And then since that show has come out, I've been in Bangalore regularly doing stand-up, open mics, college shows, corporate shows, 1 hour shows. Yesterday, or day before yesterday night, I got back home from the very first hill station tour.
Wow.
Something that I've been wanting to do for 4.5-5 years.
Where all?
There's a musician called Siddharth Bendi from Hyderabad. So we're doing a show together called Bendy and Shunky, where it's he and I would alternate. We'd be on stage together and we alternate performing for the crowd. He plays some music, then I do some stand-up, then he plays some music, and it goes back and forth. We performed at Ooty, Kodaikanal, Wayanad and Coorg at the moment. We've got a whole bunch of other hill stations.
Wow.
And
it's going on right now?
The first 4 venues got done. We are performing at hostels in all these locations. And there's a wonderful producer called Sakshi Chaturvedi from Hyderabad who runs a company called Baskia Entertainment. She's the one. She drove from Hyderabad to Bangalore to Ooty to Kodai, back to Bangalore, then to Wayanad to Coorg to Bangalore, and today they're heading back to Hyderabad. So
good God. Hectic.
Yeah, it was crazy. So that's what I've been doing in the last 10 days. So I'm very excited that is done because I've been waiting to do this for about 4-5 years, way before the pandemic. I was like, I want to do a hill station tour because I'm from Kunur, and I've been I just love the mountains and sit on a nice little rock with chai and look at the horizon. Is nice, it's peaceful.
But how's the crowd there? Like, I mean, compared to the city and everything. Like, I mean, is it very responsive? Are people like more open to?
So, because we are performing in hostels, mostly it's people who are traveling to these locations. So they are also city based. But there is a good amount of those people who are from smaller towns within neighboring areas. Some people from that place itself, like from Ooty itself, there are a few people from Kodai. Also, we had a few people who live in Kodai who come. They are responsive because they are completely aware of whatever's happening in the world right now. About 20 years ago, there was a huge difference between what happens in the city and what happens in in smaller towns, in
Mhm.
tier 2 cities. But today, because the internet is pretty much everywhere,
Mhm.
everybody is aware of pretty much everything. All the Netflix shows that you watch,
Yeah.
all the Amazon Prime shows that you watch,
Mhm.
all of it is there pretty much everywhere. People have started taking work from home.
Mhm.
uh,
To watch.
Yeah, to a whole other level where
Yeah.
if you can work from home and you don't need to be physically at a place,
Mhm.
you go to a place like Ooty or Kunur,
Yeah.
go into a nice little hostel,
Mhm.
and for a month you can stay there. There's great food that you can eat,
Mhm.
finish your work, and then take a walk around the hills.
Mhm.
You're filled with much more peace
Yeah.
that way. So live performances is one thing that didn't happen a lot,
During
or
the
doesn't
pandemic.
happen a lot in hill stations.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's the main reason I wanted to do this hill station tour.
Mhm. No, that's why I asked you, because it doesn't happen so often. Is the response that great and everything?
It's there.
Yeah.
You feel like they're not as quick with every joke that you do, but
Yeah.
generally they're there, and that's only a matter of time when within like a year, 2 years, or 3 years, when performances happen there very often.
But I think your tile joke must be killing it over there as well, right?
The tile.
Yeah, I mean like bathroom
Yeah.
tiles joke.
The problem is that is a joke that's already on like Comicstaan. So
Yeah,
once
yeah.
a joke is gone, you don't tend to do it on live shows again. But it's a very random.
I
joke
remember
to pick
that
up.
because it was in college.
I know.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh shit, you did the same thing in college. The tile, the
Yeah, I
doobie
understand.
one.
I understand. It's just randomly hearing about my own joke that I've done in like not in 5.5 years is a little. It feels good. Feels
Yeah.
good.
So when you told me that, I mean, you just mentioned 4.5 years ago you did Comicstaan, and then you moved back to Bangalore. But we see all these other comics from other cities, people who do Comicstaan or do other shows. They go to Mumbai.
Yeah.
Didn't you want to go to Mumbai? Didn't you want to like take the other route of OTT and all those things?
No.
Why not?
Because firstly, I am a small guy. Okay. Most people that I work with are big. They're huge, massive people. Okay. So in terms of financial standing,
Okay.
in terms of physical standing, in
Okay.
terms of body of work,
Mhm.
in every way they're all big.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that I will get bullied if
Okay.
I go to Bombay, but I've been the new guy in college, in my workplace,
Uh-huh.
in school.
Uh-huh.
So I've been bullied enough times to know that if you go somewhere new, they're not going to welcome you with like a red carpet,
Yeah.
being all like, please come,
Yeah.
you sit there, and if you need anything, ask us.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rat race,
Hmm.
and nobody's going to do anything bad intentionally.
Mhm.
But just while they are, it's such a cutthroat business
Mhm.
that while they are trying to figure out their own work,
Mhm.
they might overstep you,
Mhm.
and then you will feel bad.
Mm. Yeah.
And if my main aim was to end up becoming an actor
Yeah.
or writing for a movie or
Mhm.
writing dialogues, then
Mhm.
I would imagine Bombay being
Yeah.
the place. But live stand-up is the best thing that has happened to me, and I don't want to do anything else
Mhm.
other than live stand-up. So
I see a lot of like Bangalore stand-up comics also going to Mumbai and doing live stand-up there and everything, right? Like, I mean, why is that so? Like, and you stayed here, and I even heard Keld also like is here because you guys chose to stay here, right? So
Bombay is expensive as a city,
yeah.
and you can't survive only doing stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Bangalore financially is not as expensive
Mm-hmm.
in terms of rent,
Mhm.
in terms of expenses, in terms of staying.
Mm-hmm.
And you can, if you do stand-up enough, and if you do enough shows,
Mm-hmm.
if you have enough corporates or event management companies asking you to come and perform,
Yeah.
you can, in a matter of 20 shows in a year, you can make enough money to stay comfortably in Bangalore.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing if I do in Bombay, I'll make enough money to be broke all the time. So
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
it's not the same. So I also think Bombay is overcrowded,
Yeah, it is.
and you have to be nice
Yeah.
to people. which is a good thing to do. You
Kiss
can
ass
be
people.
nice. I mean, that comes secondly
Okay.
when
Oh,
you have.
nice is first.
You.
Okay.
I mean, I'm talking not kissing ass
Yeah.
for the sake of your own profit.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying being nice to someone where you don't say something rude to anybody, or
Mm.
you just hang out and you don't share your opinion about them.
Yeah.
You just speak to them nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Kissing ass happens when you know that this person can do something for you.
Yeah.
Then you're all like, oh, you're such a great person, and all of that happens at the next level.
Yeah.
I'm always wondering that I can be nice to someone only for like a matter of a week
Uh-huh.
or 10 days.
Okay.
After that, even I'll be like, I'm not in the mood today. Please, let's.
Yeah.
I can't tell you my honest opinion. Also, I can't fight also because you will beat the hell out of me. So I can't do this, and you'll start getting more and more frustrated.
Is that why you get bullied?
Yeah, most
Yeah.
often, most often. So, I don't know. I've had a lot of comics sit me down and tell me that you need to work on screenplay, on script writing, on OTT pitches, and all of that. All of that doesn't interest me at all.
Mm-hmm.
If I go to a city and if some comedian or if someone is sitting down and we start talking about comics and our favorite comics and their stories and all of that gets me excited to a point where you can sit down and talk to me all night about stand-up, and I will not get tired at all.
So on that note, I want to ask you, like, who were your early influencers? Like, I mean, like, what made you want to get into stand-up and like even try it out, and like, how did that even happen? How did that starting your first thing even happen?
In college, about 15-16 years ago, it was Russell Peters.
Okay, yeah.
Who we watched, and just his special that became super famous, and I came to Bangalore. I started working in tech support, and I remember watching Russell Peters, and then right after Russell Peters, I watched Kevin Hart, one of his specials.
Yeah.
Right after Kevin Hart, I watched I think Gabriel Iglesias.
Okay.
And then I watched a special. I started watching. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I started watching stand-up of this one person who was the biggest influence on why I decided to do stand-up, who is George Carlin.
Okay.
He's started watching his specials one after the other, and I couldn't wrap my head around how one man can have one microphone and to tell his opinions and how he thinks the world works, all of it wrapped up in jokes and trying to make you laugh, and while you're laughing, you're also it's incredibly intelligent, witty, funny, goofy sometimes, thought-provoking, all of it. And I got hooked, and I started watching more 1 hour specials one after the other. And I remember I started writing an Excel sheet.
Okay.
Like I started filling up an Excel sheet with names of specials that I can find.
Yeah.
And pretty soon that number of specials went up to 285, 350.
Wow.
Today that list is at 1,100 specials. I haven't watched all of them.
Yeah.
I watched maybe about, I don't know, 150, 200 specials, maybe a little bit more. But before the pandemic, there were perhaps about 1,200 specials in the world, or 1,000. I'm talking about English specials that I can watch, that I can understand and listen to. So, George Carlin was one of the first influences of me doing stand-up. Of course, there are so many other influences. There is Johnny Lever's comedy in movies that we would watch while we were growing up. There's a stage performer by the name of Umar Sharif.
Okay.
His plays that you find on CDs and now they're available on YouTube. They are also one of my biggest childhood happy memories. As a guy from Kunur who understands Tamil, born there, Tamil comedy in terms of there is Goundamani and Sendil and Vadivel and Vivek, all these brilliant actors got me wanting to like I gravitated more towards making people laugh. And then after watching George Carlin, I was mesmerized by just.
So was that when you were working and then?
Yes.
And then you like went for an open mic?
So I started watching a lot of stand-up. This is 2011, 2012.
Okay.
I started working in Bangalore and I started watching stand-up. And then I started writing down things that I find funny. And I started writing down this Excel sheet of stand-up specials. And I on YouTube, I remember watching a Veer Das clip. Veer Das doing a clip. And there was a stand-up clip. And there was an Abhish Mathew clip, 2011. Him doing stand-up. It was called Abhish and Friends.
Okay.
And I watched it, and then I started on Facebook. You had groups back then where events were a big thing on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I watched. There are Bangalore stand-up comedy open mic nights, and there are venues where stand-up happens regularly. So I decided to go and check it out once. By that time I had stopped. I changed my job from tech support to ad agency. I was working as a junior copywriter. And I decided, I went to an open mic first, and Kanan Gill was doing open mics back then in Bangalore. So I told him I'd like to do stand-up. He said, do you want to go up today? I said I don't have anything prepared right now. He said, if you want to give it a try, go. I said, I'll just go and talk. He said, don't do that. Come with something prepared in your mind and then you go up. I said, okay. That happened at a place called Urban Solace. Which, ironically, this Saturday I'm doing a show at Urban Solace. The Bendy Shunky show that I was talking about. I'm performing at. You should come, by the way, if you're free. Please drop
this
by.
Saturday.
This Saturday.
Perfect. Okay.
7. There's another place in Indranagar called Take 5. So I was at the ad agency, and I told my friends, my colleagues, that I'm going to try stand-up. And they said, why don't you tell us what you're going to do? And I said, okay, I'll tell you. But I wasn't prepared for performing at the office. So I told them the entire joke with the same expression I have right now, where I was scared and I was like, so I used to dance as a girl in school. And nobody laughed. And they all looked at me and they said, don't do this to yourself. It's horrible to watch. It's painful. You're going to end up harming yourself if you go up on stage and do this. So I remember I went to the restroom and I puked. I was just like, why am I? Because I was feeling so anxious. What is going to happen? And then from Koramangala, I was going to go. My house was on Old Airport Road. So the Bengaluru bridge that is there. If I keep riding straight and if I take a left, I'll go home. But if I keep going straight, I'll go to Indranagar and I can go to the open mic. So even when I climb the flyover on the cycle, I'm all like, just go home. It's okay. Just go home. It's okay. But once I got down, I decided to go straight. When I'm going straight down the flyover, I'm panting heavily. Even though I'm going downhill, I reached the open mic and they said, okay, we'll put you up. And in my heart, I know that this is going to go badly. I already have people who I've worked with who know me. I couldn't get them to laugh. Strangers, there is no point in even trying. So I went up on stage with zero expectation. I was like, hi guys, my name is Shankar and I studied in a boys' school and I started liking dance. And the show, the jokes, people started laughing a little bit here and there. And I wasn't feeling absolutely horrible.
Because we got some laughs.
A little bit. And there was one white lady in the crowd and I had a joke about tech support. So before I did my joke, I asked the lady, ma'am, have you ever called tech support? She said, yes. So I said, thank you for calling tech support. And people laughed at that. Like I was attending her call. And when I got that, I was like, I didn't even plan for that. And it worked. So I did my entire set for about 4.5-5 minutes. I said, thank you so much guys. My name is Shankar. And comics came up to me and they said, "Was that your first time? Because you were great. You didn't freeze.
Wow.
You didn't stop. You went on, did full 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That was incredible."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, thank you." I guess that was great. And then I felt incredibly happy and overwhelmed. And I was like, I feel great.
Uh-huh.
Now I know what I want to do.
Uh-huh.
And I came and I told a bunch of my friends that this is what I want to do.
Mhm.
And some of them said, stick to dancing, because I used to dance in school a lot. They
Yeah.
said, why are you doing this to yourself? Don't. Some people said go for it. Some people said it's a hobby and this and that. And all. But doing open mics for the last 9.5 years,
Yeah.
I felt much like I've liked stand-up so much that I don't feel the need or the desire to do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
My entire struggle right now is to try and make enough money to survive and sustain and have a decent living while doing stand-up.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I'm looking at.
And do you think that's a viable option? Like, is that possible in Bangalore?
It's not possible right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible overnight because Bangalore's the ownership of people within the city is not as much as other cities people own their city. Like people who move to Bombay within 3 months will be like, I'm a Mumbaikar, like from the heart. They're all like, I'll take you to the place. You come, I will go. And like within 20 days, they're all like, I know. You will be like, I want to have purple Faluda. They'll be like, I'll take you to the right place. I know. And you're like, within 20 days, how did you discover all this?
Yeah.
But in Bangalore, if you ask someone, which city are you from or where do you live? People generally in Bombay and Delhi say, I'm from Bombay.
Yeah.
I'm from Delhi. Or or they just say Bombay. In Bangalore, people tend to say, I live in Bangalore.
Yeah.
In the sense, they're always looking at Bangalore like, this is great.
Yeah. But I'm from somewhere else.
But the traffic situation is worse and it's getting even more worse. And I don't see myself living here for much longer. About 5 years, 10 years, and then I'll go to like another city. And every other city has been established for a while. From Bombay, Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Hyderabad, these all have been cities for a couple of decades at least. Bangalore, up to about 20-30 years ago, was like a small little town that you would come and chill, like a vacation spot, and then go back to your city. So after the IT boom, the city came out of nowhere. And now it's being
they're like building the plane while flying it.
Yeah, the development is happening very ad hoc.
Yeah.
You drive, you reach Hennur side, and in the middle of in the forest there's a whole settlement out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Any other place you go, the place Bangalore is expanding.
I know. Yeah.
Very ad hocly. So that way, if in Bangalore, if a comedian who's got a lot of views, a lot of followers, when they come to Bangalore, they sell, they get their audience, they perform really well, and they go back. Bangalore guys are we ourselves, when we do a show, it doesn't translate as much. So it takes a while.
Have you not thought of like building a personal brand and like social media following and then everything? Because I know you have like good following, but it's not like as much as like, I mean, influencer. Like now you see like every random Joe is got like 100K or 1 million just by making reels and everything. So that's the thing that I want to ask you also when you were saying the hill station stuff. Are you recording them?
Yes.
Are you planning to like put them out?
We're recording the shows. The producer and the musician are more content driven people. I would like for some of whatever we're doing to be online, to promote and all of that, but I don't have this desire to make reels on a regular basis, simply because almost everybody is doing it, and they're doing it full time. If you were to count the number of full-time Instagram, reel makers
Yeah.
in the country. That is a big number.
Mm-hmm.
So I would rather not put in effort
Mm-hmm.
so that whatever I'm doing is recorded to a camera
Mm-hmm.
and then being consumed at home.
What about you keep doing these open mics every week, right? What about recording those and putting like clips from those? Because I see a lot of stand-ups in the US and other countries doing that now.
I would that would be a good idea, but I still think that the foundation is not yet strong enough for me to do that
Mm-hmm.
comfortably.
Okay.
Like you do when you first start doing stand-up, you wonder how will you be on stage for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Every minute you're all like, oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole minute I have to be on stage. And sometimes when you first start out, you're like, I might be able to be on stage only for 3.5 minutes and then I won't have anything to say.
Mm-hmm.
You keep writing, you keep getting up on stage, you keep discovering how to make people laugh, and
Yeah.
2 years in, 3 years in, you have 15-20 minutes of stand-up material that you can take on stage and make people laugh. And as you keep writing new jokes and trying to throw away jokes that you don't like anymore and you keep adding to it, you get to a place where you have about 45-50 minutes or 1 hour of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to record that and put it out,
Yeah.
it is highly impossible
Mm.
for you to within the next 6 months have a
Come
new
up.
1 hour of
60,
jokes,
yeah.
because I mean there are people who work
Mm.
in that manner. I don't like
Yeah.
working like that because it's I don't like I didn't want to work in the first place. That's why I'm doing stand-up.
Yeah.
It's just I go up on stage and I try and make a crowd laugh,
Uh-huh.
and that's it.
Uh-huh.
A couple of comics will ask me, how do I work on improving my career? And I say, don't. Why are you even thinking about your career? If you have something that you know is funny
Yeah.
and you can make a crowd laugh,
Mm.
once you get that laugh
Mhm.
and somehow you manage to do enough stand-up to make a living,
Mm-hmm.
then in my head there is no next level.
Okay.
There is only whatever you're doing that scales up.
Yeah.
But are you 100% certain that it's only going to scale up forever? Infinity, it's never going to scale back down?
Yeah.
What if in like 10 years stand-up becomes obsolete, or we live in a environment where public gatherings becomes a little tough? So whether you scale up, scale back down, that energy of a live performance
Mm-hmm.
is unparalleled.
Yeah.
So that's why this hill station tour was
Mm-hmm.
incredible. We go into a place, we set up, we travel with our speaker, our amp, the guy's guitar, microphone, mixer,
Yeah.
lights, everything. We set it up in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, start a set, perform for 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
wrap everything up, put back in the car. And the energy that's there in the crowd at the moment while you're performing cannot be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a substitute for the real thing,
Mm-hmm.
but if it's not the same,
Yeah.
then you can feel the
I think
difference.
going on tours or like when performing live has another high, right?
Yes,
Like I mean,
absolutely.
altogether compared to like just sitting in front of a screen and like talking to a YouTube, like to your camera and then making a YouTube video out of it.
Like right now, both of us are
Yeah.
trying to record this for the camera,
Yeah.
and both of us are trying our best to
Yeah.
convey whatever energy we have to the
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Now imagine doing that by yourself
Mm.
to just the camera.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult, and after a certain point, I think it's a little sad.
Yeah, I think you need that reaction. Only then, like, I mean, that's something that drives you, right? Like, I mean, if you crack a joke and you don't know if it's funny, but then if there's a person laughing, then you know, okay, yeah, this is actually funny, and then you like develop on it and you can pull up other things. Right?
It's the reason why I think
Yeah.
I should not do reels,
Yeah.
or I don't like doing reels, is
Uh-huh.
because every other art form you take, you can close yourself between four walls, practice, rehearse,
Mhm.
become better, record yourself,
Yeah.
and you can gradually see the
Yeah.
improvement.
Yeah.
Stand-up
Mhm.
is the one art form
Mhm.
where the only way to get better is by performing it.
Yeah.
There is no other. No
Don't you
matter.
think Reels is also a sort of a performance to the crowd, and then you see how people are reacting? No? Why not?
It is not the same
Okay.
because the same thing goes with theater and movies.
Mm.
Now, you could debate that movies can move someone,
Mm-hmm.
right? But or I'm gonna quote Jimmy Carr, who I
Okay.
saw one of his videos. He's like, if you watch someone play live,
Mhm.
you will remember
Mhm.
them for sure.
Yeah.
But if you see a video that you
Mm.
watched on YouTube, and if you
Yeah.
ask, did you watch this video? You can't remember whether you watched it or not.
Yeah.
Because that live energy
Yeah.
is captured in your brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So specifically for stand-up, a live performance is light years ahead
Mm-hmm.
of the best virtual experience.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Like George Carl in one of his interviews says very nicely. He says, if we were living in cave times, I would be the caveman who would go from cave to cave, telling stories, making
Yeah.
people laugh.
Yeah.
In in um, in return for a piece of meat
Yeah.
that I can take back to my cave.
Mm-hmm.
And if any one of the days they say there is no meat today,
Mm-hmm.
I still want to tell the stories.
Mm-hmm.
So that thing of live energy,
Yeah.
regardless of which time we're in, that feels very
Mm-hmm.
intoxicating. It
Mhm.
feels very like it's the one thing that drives me the most.
Yeah.
So when I can see something that makes me be happy and excited, even for a brief second, I don't feel like taking my eyes away from it and looking at reels or
Yeah.
writing or
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah.
Whatever I do on the side
Mhm.
will want me to tell people to come and see me do what I do in terms of stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
So whether I scale up,
Yeah.
today I perform on a regular basis to a 40 people crowd,
Okay.
which is a wonderful number
Yeah.
of people to come and watch me.
Yeah. On a regular basis.
That's
Yeah.
like, it's very intimate. They are just there and I try and make them laugh. It's
Yeah.
great. I would want to scale up
Yeah.
and perform for a bigger crowd. But whether I go on to perform for 100 people, 400 people, 1,000 people,
Mm-hmm.
no matter, and once I go back, if I come back down to 40 people,
Yeah.
100 people, the energy that I feel when I am on stage
Mm-hmm.
doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's 4 people or 40
Yeah.
people or 400 people, it's that same vibe, that same energy. Because when you're performing and you hear that laugh
Huh.
that you've said about something that you've had in your brain,
Yeah.
you do that for an hour and you feel like you've done something today.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want anything, you just have a cup of chai. Look at the whole hill station tour is it's all I'm forgetting words today. The whole hill station
Yeah.
tour
Yeah.
is an excuse.
Okay. To go and have chai and look at the
It's
stars.
an excuse to perform for a
Okay.
live crowd and then look at the stars,
Yeah.
have chai, and look at the sunrise. I was in Wayanad,
Yeah.
at Zostel Wayanad,
Uh-huh.
and we were on such an altitude
Mm-hmm.
that we saw the sun
Uh-huh.
and we saw clouds below us.
Shit. Wow.
Clouds formed
Yeah.
in sun, and you're wondering, this is incredible. The money isn't
Yeah.
there, even like percentage wise. You can't even compare to the amount of money you can make in Bombay, Delhi, or whatever.
Yeah.
But just the fact that it
The
makes you feel
experience.
so alive.
Yeah.
You can't quantify
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to tell you another
yeah.
point, but I forgot.
Okay, no problem. So, like, talk to me about Comicstaan. Like, how did that happen, and why do you even want to get into it? And what happened after that? Also? How did it impact you? Yeah.
So, Comicstaan has done a lot for me. It so happened that I got a call about 7 months before before Comicstaan was shot.
Yeah.
From Bombay, they said we are shooting the show, and it's a platform for comics.
Yeah.
So if you could send a link and apply, and we'll come and we'll have auditions in Bangalore. So if you'd like to, like, we want to open it to everybody, but we want it to be comedians who make it to the show. So I sent my link and I applied. A week before the audition, my dad fell a little unwell. I think he had pneumonia. His lungs were filled with phlegm. So I was in Kunur with him. He was in the hospital and he was recovering for a week. And a day before Comicstaan's audition, my dad felt much better. So he got discharged.
Yeah.
And then he said, you go for your audition. I'll figure out, it's all good.
Yeah.
So I took a bus, came back to Bangalore, and I directly landed at the venue where the open mic is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And Biswa started stand-up in Bangalore.
Yeah.
And he'd gone to Bombay, and we hadn't met each other for 3.5 years. Like, we know of each other, we'd see each other at shows, but we never really hung out.
Yeah.
He hadn't seen my performance.
Yeah.
So when I first started out, I would get laughs, but in a month I would get maybe 2 laughs.
Okay.
Like
when you first started.
When I first started,
Yeah.
I'd try everything and not much would work, and then slowly things started picking up, got better. But that entire 3.5 year journey of me getting better as a comic, Biswa hadn't seen.
Yeah.
So when he came to the audition, he was watching me, and I didn't have this intention of doing well, or I just wanted to perform well enough for people to take me to Bombay.
Yeah.
So I can do open mics, meet the comics there, or I wanted them to, I wanted to make an impact.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for the show, but just for them to remember that, oh, there's a stand-up comic in Bangalore. And it went really, really well. The open mic happened. I had a great set. I remember a lot of other comedians called me up and they said great things about me. Anirban Das Gupta called me and he said, man, Biswa is praising you like no business. He's like, every second line there's a laugh.
Yeah.
What have you done?
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, thank you so much. It means a lot.
Yeah.
I met I would like to drop names right now, but Anirban is the one guy that I just like what he's doing, so I just drop his name.
Yeah.
But it was an overwhelming feeling of doing really well. Went to Bombay, hung out with a bunch of comics. Shashwat Maheshwari happened to be a big surprise to hang out with.
Okay.
Because he is one of the guys who really doesn't care about consequences and pleasantries and trying to be nice to people for the sake of being nice. He's a nice guy, but he doesn't sugarcoat anything, and the guy is constantly writing in his head. You hang out with him, within 15 minutes, 7 times he's come up with jokes on the spot, and I'm like, can you stop working right now, because we are hanging out and it's annoying, because I also have to work. I can't work like you. So when I went to Comicstaan, I had 4.5 years of stand-up that I had done. Shashwat Maheshwari said, I'm only going to be working on new jokes, because I'm not going to put out my jokes on this platform. I'll put it out on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I was so broke, I couldn't take that risk. So I said, and he did really, really well. So I was just so amazed at the fact that my 4.5 years of work, of stand-up, day in and day out, jokes that I've been building over time, I brought it to the show. And Shashwat, with 1 week of work, he's at that same level of funny. And I was just impressed by him.
Yeah.
And I changed my style of performance in Comicstaan. Before
Okay.
Comicstaan, when I was doing open mics, I was very animated. Like whatever I would say, I'll try and do a body
I
action.
remember the dance. Yeah.
Even apart from that,
Yeah.
I'm saying in general, when I was talking, all my expressions would all be full animated. I saw Shashwat performing and making an audience laugh without moving, and that somehow kind of felt a little more powerful, so to speak. So I decided that whatever it's called act out, so it's called trying to like add like a create a scene for the joke that you're trying to say. But I thought all that I'll figure out later, but first I want to be able to stand at one place and tell jokes for people to laugh for how funny just how the joke is. So that happened for 3 months. Shashwat and I would hang out. Other comics would also, we'd hang out with Dua, Suri, Arnav. All of us would hang out. But they all kind of gravitated towards the people that they were comfortable with. And Shashwat was the one guy that I would go and we'd talk about our the kind of stand-up comics we like and so on and so forth. And the whole show happened.
Yeah.
And I'd come down to Bangalore after the second last episode. Before the finale, we had 10 days, and I didn't have money to travel in Bombay and do open mics. So the people hosting me said, "We'll fly you to Bangalore and then fly you back." I said, "Okay." So flew to Bangalore, did open mics extensively. Went to startups to do stand up there to make my set better. And I worked on a set like religiously. I went to Bombay for the open mic. I went up and I did a set and it did incredibly well. And I came backstage and one of the Comicstaan finalists grabbed my collar and he said, "You take 10 lakhs and leave. If you're working, if you're making jokes like this and all, this is unacceptable." I said thanks, and I was very happy that whatever hard work I'd put in is done. Much later I realized that because of that performance, that interaction and my euphoria, I had given up on the set. I had
you were like, I won it already.
I was like, "Ho gaya, now what's the point? This is done." So I celebrated too soon. Alright, so the next day I'm trying to like wake up my inspiration. I'm all like, "Come on, nothing is working. Nothing." I showered, I watched porn 4 times. Nothing worked. Nothing worked at all. I was like, something is wrong. I don't know what. One of the crew members who was shooting it, they gave me like their sacred bangle. They said, "Keep this in your pocket and perform. Good luck." I went on stage. I remember amping myself up, and I went on stage and I looked at the crowd in the finale and I'm blank.
Oh shit.
Fully blank. So I performed the whole thing zoned out. By muscle memory of doing the set so many times. It was stuck in my head and I was like, "This is gone. It's over. It's done." I got off stage and I was like, I don't know what the hell is wrong. Something was. What happened? What happened? What happened? And for a year and a half, I didn't have an answer. I was incredibly stressed.
You were one of the favorites, right, at that time? I remember.
I was, but because of how financially fickle my position was at that time, I was trying to put everything in one, and because of that last open mic thing, I at that time I didn't know that this is what was happening. Excuse me. A lot of these then for about 8 months Comicstaan was yet to come out, and I was financially struggling even more. And my folks were like, "What are you doing with your life? You don't know what your day looks like. We don't have like a place to go to in the evening. Are you working? Do you want to join our chocolate business?" I said, "Just give me some time, it'll all work.
Mhm.
I developed a patchy spot on my beard as
Okay.
alopecia,
Okay.
because when you stress too much, sometimes you have like a
Uh-huh.
spot. So my mom saw all of that and she was like, all right, I get it, okay. And then Comicstaan came out and it went really, really well.
Yeah.
The moment it came out, I got a bunch of followers following me. I had a bunch of followers coming to my show and excited to watch
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and it felt great.
Mhm.
And that energy kept me going for 6 months. There's another comedian in Bangalore who was really helpful.
Okay.
His name is Jyotin Patro.
Okay.
So I came back from the shooting of Comicstaan. This finale goof up was
Yeah.
in my head.
Yeah.
So I started doing the same jokes that I had done on Comicstaan, because it takes a while for you to figure out a joke.
Yeah.
Jyotin came and told me, he said, if right now you keep doing these jokes, then
Mm.
when Comicstaan comes out and people come to watch you, you will not have any jokes
Yeah.
to do, new jokes.
Mm.
So you have to write jokes now.
Yeah.
And that, although it was like a little harsh to hear, it made so much sense
Of course.
that
Yeah.
I put away everything and I started working on new jokes that I can do on when people come to watch me.
Mhm.
And I had already had like a 35 minutes that I
Mhm.
hadn't performed, and I had about 35 minutes that I was working on now,
Yeah.
and I was ready for like the people who
Mhm.
came and watch me. I started doing stand-up.
Mhm.
So that happened for about a year and a half, 2 years.
Mhm.
In my head, I didn't have the answer to what happened in
Yeah.
the finale, but I was doing stand-up. I was making a decent living in Bangalore. At that time, I was like the biggest
Mhm.
comic
Yeah.
doing stand-up full time,
Mhm.
uh, which feels great. But my main intention to stay back in Bangalore is to just keep doing stand-up.
Yeah.
I didn't have like this, oh, I'm here because of the Bangalore comedy scene. None of that.
Yeah.
I also have too many big names in Bombay. They're all amongst themselves, and
Uh-huh.
their audiences are also much bigger.
Yeah.
Their sizes of muscles also are much bigger. The amount of jokes that they put out also are much bigger. So
Yeah.
I am like small guy. I'll stay
Yeah.
in Bangalore, just keep doing stand up here.
Uh-huh.
I'm happy. I went to Kunur,
Uh-huh.
and I remember as a child just being lost in the clouds and
Mhm.
going on long walks and having lots of chai and
Mhm.
driving around beautiful viewpoints. So I was at home for a while, and one of my friends suggested go for a walk.
Yeah.
And I started going for walks, and I met a whole bunch of new friends
Mhm.
in this lockdown. And slowly, all my like this urge to compete
Yeah.
in the social media era, which I would imagine for a lot of people is very important to keep putting out
Mm.
work and content.
Mm.
But a lot of the accessories that come with whatever I'm trying to do kind of vanished. Like in my head, it came to a point where I was in the hill station for about a year and a half, close to a year and a half.
Yeah.
And within that time, I realized that there are things that are important, and everything else, whether it's there or doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
I mean, that validation feels good,
Yeah.
but I can stay away from it.
What's important for you? Like, what's your goal out of like writing, doing stand up, and everything? Like, what do you want to do at the end? Okay.
These are the things that are important to me. There's a
Uh-huh.
mic for stand up.
Uh-huh.
There's chai
Yeah.
that I love. This is hill station tea leaves that I have, and there's a
Yeah.
tree of life for
Okay.
family, and generally for the people in my
Uh-huh.
life, the
Uh-huh.
people who I love and the people who I value.
Uh-huh.
So as long as I can get up on stage
Mhm.
as often as I can,
Mhm.
as long as I'm not starving and broke,
Mhm.
as long as I get to have a chai
Mhm.
at the end of the day,
Mhm.
as long as I get to travel to hill stations and secluded places where I could just sit and be lost in nature, and as long as I can be there for the people in my life,
Mhm.
physically, financially, mentally, emotionally,
Mhm.
these are the things that are important to me.
Mhm.
Because we've come, like, there was a time about 25-30 years ago where you could arguably be one of the best comedians in the world, because the number of people doing stand-up were
very
few,
less, yeah.
and the number of people who've done stand-up for long enough time for them to have their foundation and then put out a body of work
Yeah.
was smaller. But today in India itself, you have a huge list of comedians. You have comedians putting out YouTube. Someone told me that every day 3 YouTube clips get released in India. 3 clips.
Wow. Okay.
Which is a massive number.
Yeah.
But for that production, we're yet to do like the foundation groundwork of building our voice to tell a bunch of jokes or tell the audience what we find funny in a way where it's funny no matter when you see it. 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And if I'm going to only be chasing this video, then the next video, then the next video, that loop is never going to get done.
On that note, like, what's your creative process then? Like, how do you make like an everlasting content, or like how do you make a set itself? Like, how do you go about that?
It's a very
and how do you get ideas also?
Okay, I wish I had a clear answer to tell you,
because you mentioned like when your friend he asked you to start writing new stuff before Comicstaan comes
Jyoti.
out. Yeah. So at that time you started to write, right? Like, so how did you?
It's not like I picked up a pen and wrote down a first thought after he told me.
Yeah.
What generally my process is, when you find something funny, you make a note of it. I have a book that I won't carry to the studio. It has a bunch of ideas that I think are funny.
Okay.
It has a bunch of things that have happened to me, and it has a bunch of observations in the language in English that we speak in India. So whatever in these 3, whatever seemed like I want to speak about at that time, that is my current set. So when I kind of get done with it, or when I upload it, then I work on the next bit of my stand-up. I don't want to, like, I don't feel like working on the next ideas with a hurry to try and like compete and show the world how funny I am. I don't know why in this lockdown all of that competitive, like, I'm gonna be one of the best is gone. I don't feel the urge to do that. Or maybe I've accepted defeat, that's not gonna happen. So I'm like, good luck to you guys. So my fight is no longer to become the biggest name. My fight is no longer to beat people who've already made a fabulous name for themselves. I don't want to top them by any chance. I just want to make enough people laugh on a regular basis, and whatever body of work I put out, I want it to be at a point where if it's playing in another room and I'm happy to have chai in one room, I want some people to be laughing, some people to not get the joke, but I don't want to be like everybody being like, why are people laughing at this? I don't want that to happen. So as long as I keep doing stand-up and I keep getting a crowd, and I make enough money, enough institutions and colleges call me to try and perform at their fest. As long as that continues, it's like for the last 2.5 years. So my folks used to make homemade chocolates in Ooty, in Kunur. And in the pandemic, all of it stopped. So they moved. I live in Hoskote with my folks, and my nephew and my bhaiya bhabhi live in the same apartment complex. So now mom and dad do a little bit of catering within the apartment. But my main aim is to try and make enough money as a performer for them to not be bothered about money. So as long as I can do that, That's my end goal. Like that's what I'm constantly striving towards. And last 2 years have been incredibly stressful, where every month I'll wonder if I can make rent this month.
Yeah.
And that month rent will happen. Then the next month I'll be like, okay,
Oh shit! What about this
Again.
month now?
again. So it's a constant,
Yeah.
and it's enough motivation to keep pushing and
Yeah.
keep working.
Yeah.
It's just now after 2 years I'm all like, aur kitna? But hill station tour
Yeah.
felt incredible.
Uh-huh.
After doing it, I felt like this is what I wanted to do. This is what I felt happy doing.
Amazing stuff, man. So then, like, talk to me about, like, again, with respect to your stand-up and, like, your process. Do you look at all these, like, I was speaking to Keld and he was telling me about these technicalities and, like, laughs per minute and all
Right.
these things. Do you look at those things as well, like, when you build your set?
I used to,
Okay.
but like I said, when I said no to
Yeah.
thing, I'm like, who cares? Who cares if I have 4 laughs per minute? Who cares if I have 1 laugh?
Then
per
how do you
minute?
gauge a set is good then? Like, what do you do?
What I do is I firstly I don't try and put a deadline to like this joke has to happen and I have to put it out for the world, and all of that is not there in my head at all.
Yeah.
I keep working on jokes
Mm-hmm.
and I keep building. Once I know that some jokes are working, I'll try and put them aside. I'll work on a new set, and once I have enough material for 1 hour of like a stand-up set for people to like,
Yeah.
I try and see what 2 jokes can work with each other, and not like a calculated, more based on intuition, where like you'll be I do some weird things, man. I swear
What do you
to God.
mean?
I'll write down all the premises that I have
Yeah.
in chits,
Yeah.
and I'll put it in a box,
You pick one.
and I'll pick one and I'll see it, and I'll pick another one and I'll see it, and I'll write an order like that,
Oh shit.
and it'll be a whole different order,
Uh-huh.
but within that random order 2-3 jokes will make sense, where I'll be like, all right, these 2 make sense. I can club these 2 together. That is okay.
Yeah.
That is something that I will do. Another thing is, excuse me,
Yeah.
I like writing on tiles on the floor
Okay.
with a marker, and I'll write like
Your
a
parents must be pissed at you, right? Like for doing that.
not really. Their son is a full-time
Yeah.
comedian, so at this point they've kind of given up telling me anything. I don't leave it like that.
Yeah.
I'll write down, I'll do whatever, and then when I leave the house, everything will be in its place and things will be proper. I like doing things like this. I like writing an entire list of things. I like drawing diagrams to just say that I start with this and then I go here and I come back down and all of that. So when I get a good sense of this is the set that I'm doing, then I try and do what Kelt was talking about, where I add things that I think will make sense for laughter per minute.
Yeah.
But for the first I don't know, 1.5 2 years, my entire thing is, this is the premises that I have. I want to take them on stage and try and tell it to the crowd to see what makes them laugh. So for me, that feels more my style of doing things, where I take a premise and I go on stage.
Do you improv? Like, I mean, what do you do if you forgot a set or if you like something? Do you improv at that moment and then try something out?
I generally, when it happens, I tell the crowd that I forgot what I was talking about.
Okay.
I thought I had something prepared for you guys,
Yeah.
but I feel like you guys will be disappointed before you leave. So you also notice over time that when you address something that is happening in the room, and if you address it with honesty, people will get it and they will laugh, because you are not thinking. The one thing that the pandemic, being in Kunur, changed for me is, before the pandemic, I started thinking a lot about what I'm saying.
Yeah.
As a comic, you can't be calculative about like, so I said this
No.
and then this. You can't do that. It's not fun.
Yeah.
So if you say things from your gut,
Yeah.
if you say things from your mind without thinking.
Uh-huh.
You have, like right now, I'm like, okay, I performed in Rakshit's institution 4.5 years ago. He has an impression. I cannot let it go down, so I have to keep. So that is the vibe that I walked in with.
Yeah, yeah.
So the reason you laughed is because you saw that I'm speaking the truth.
Yeah.
So mostly my vibe on stage is that I want to be able to be on stage and be, because after doing Comicstaan and after trying to build an audience and all of that, I've realized that if you let go of this, no matter what you do, you will not have peace.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do this, and if you do this successfully, and if you do this with people knowing that you're doing this, then nothing else really matters. I don't need to be in the limelight throughout. I don't need to be like constantly trying to, like a lot of comics have told me that people will forget about you, and I'm like, good, they should forget about me. Why would I want to be memorable to them throughout? What's the point of constantly being in the limelight? It doesn't make sense. If you're put in a boxing ring for a match and you do really, really well, you can't then settle in the boxing ring. You have to go back to the gym, preferably when nobody's seeing you, and train even harder to build your fights. You can't just be like, alright, I'll just stay in the boxing ring. While nobody's watching, I'll go to the corner of the arena and I'll box a little bit and come back. That's not healthy. So as long as I can get up on stage and my financial troubles don't like stare at me when I'm trying to fall asleep, like there's still internet is yet to be paid, maintenance is yet to be paid, rent is due, what are you doing? Until that is not there, I'm pretty chill and happy about just doing stand-up day in and day out.
Amazing, man. So let's talk about like content and stuff. Like tell me about what's your take on these sensitive topics and sensitive subjects right now, with like people taking offense like left, right and center, and then like going and being like, oh yeah, okay, I mean, if you talk about anything related to saffron, you're screwed. So how do you deal with, as a comic, how do you deal with these sensitive subjects and not offending a lot of people?
So the size of a topic has to have that much funny a joke for you to get away with saying it.
Okay.
Like disarming someone with laughter can only happen when you do it, when you have something funny enough to say that gets everybody. Now imagine all of India is in one junction, and there are villages on either side, and there are 4 roads, and in the middle of the junction there is a platform. Now, and imagine in every village there are small platforms. If you climb up on a platform within your village and you say something, only those people will get mad, or they'll react, or they'll celebrate, or whatever. If you were to stand in the center and say, everybody's going to be looking at you. You cannot be like, I will say what I say, you have to deal with it. We are not living in a country where people are civil about what they have to say.
People won't deal with it.
So if you say something that is funny and enough people in the village get it, then the offense kind of is still there. But it's not rampant for people to everybody lose their mind at the same time. But if you were to say something that is funny, then I mean, I don't know how badly it still impacts people. I just know that I've been talking about my own existence in Bombay with a lot of like, I can't deal with it because it's too big. So sensitive topics are further pushed away from my sense, where I don't talk about anything that I don't truly understand about. Like while I was growing up, the kind of childhood that I had in Kunur is completely different from people who've lived in cities, who've lived in under the sense of power and politics. Like college
Yeah.
unions and political like student councils and people learning about the world is much more in the cities. In the hills, you're just like you're a good. I studied in a school for 14 years,
Yeah.
and we had a teacher who was very very particular about our decorum while we are wearing the uniform. He told us, if I see your shirt tucked out and the school uniform tie,
Yeah.
I will make sure you remember that you will never ever do that again.
Shit. Okay.
If you're going anywhere, once you change, wear your outfits as you please. But if you're wearing the school uniform, you better wear the school uniform properly. No matter how late into the day it is. I see you even at 8 o'clock in the evening somewhere outside in town, I better see the uniform intact because you are wearing the school on your sleeve.
Okay.
So that you learn simple things about that with the world. You learn about community, you learn about being there, you learn about a lot of things without the under the layer of religion and politics and all of that. You just learn about being there with the community people and doing things and being in the moment that way. So what I'm trying to say is I have a very skewed understanding of what people who've grown up in cities have.
Okay.
The community that I grew up in was much more closer. The view that I had was much prettier. The air
Of course. I mean, look at the concrete road here.
the
For sure.
air that I had when I was growing up, the chai, the memories, all of that in hill stations is much more nicer and peaceful. Although when you're a teenager, you want to get out of that place as fast as you can. But I had the fortune of like going around my town, meeting people, and that community's a person's nature being the first indicator of that person and their religion never coming into the picture. That was my understanding of the world. You only come to the cities and you realize that there are localities and there are issues that are much bigger. So by the time you wrap your head around it, it's very taxing. So imagine trying to do a joke about that. That's
you don't understand it.
You don't have that nature of like
Exactly.
in as a child, the kind of things that I have experienced within my community is much more inclusive and helpful and all of that. So it's commendable when comedians take on like serious topics. I just don't have the ingredients to look at like George Carlin's political comedy and his commentary on the world was very strong. That's because he was born in New York, the one point which for the last century has been the center of the world. And in his book and in his interviews, he's spoken of the neighborhood that he's grown up in. And I don't remember verbatim, but I'm going to memorize it soon. He had many institutions. He had an institution that was teaching teachers how to teach.
Oh wow.
He had 2 religious institutions down the road. He had a massive museum, a library, like everything that you could imagine for a child to understand, he understood. At a very young age, he had all of that. I am from Kunur, which is a hill station and chai and walks, and you forget about like the world that exists beyond a certain point. So like I said, if I have something funny and I know that it'll make people laugh and I'm saying it because it's funny, then I will go ahead and say it.
So as you mentioned, like you first, growing up in Kannur, you first saw the nature and then the religion and whatever, all that comes secondary, right? Nature. So that's why your jokes are also around that. Like nature, like their people's nature, the way people speak, language,
Yeah,
and things like
yeah.
that, right?
I would imagine that's
Mm-hmm.
more my stand up, or whatever I'm trying to say, is 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 wrapped up with a lot of hope and optimism
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of nice
Yeah.
things, because um I don't know, I understood uh, self-deprecating humor as a kid itself,
Mm-hmm.
because being bullied, one of the easiest ways to get away is make a joke about yourself.
Yeah.
And I would do that, and everybody will laugh, and I would laugh. And once a friend of mine told me, you understand we're laughing at you. And I'm like, I know, but it hurts lesser than a punch. So that's why I would laugh with them. So all of that kind of, you learn so much.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that you feel are important,
Mm-hmm.
and there are things that you feel are not.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that you feel are important, when you like hold on to them and
Yeah.
let the others go. Most of my kind of stand up comes from that space of like,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I don't have this um I'm very bad with marketing. I'm very bad with money. I'm very bad with promoting myself, because I don't know how to do it correctly. I don't know
Yeah.
how to do it enough for people to 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 then follow what I'm doing, and like, I just it's a
Are you trying to find a niche even now? Like, I mean, something like that.
I I don't know. At this point, I have no idea what I'm trying to do. I just know that
Uh-huh.
I'm hoping, like, I don't have a plan.
Uh-huh.
I don't have an
That's all right.
agenda.
Yeah.
I just know that I have a direction that I'm
Mhm.
headed towards,
Mhm.
and I've been headed in that direction for the last how many ever years.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that if I can keep doing stand up
Mm-hmm.
and travel and keep working on my craft and get better and better and better, then eventually I will get to a place where there are enough people who come to watch me,
Mm-hmm.
where I can make a comfortable living.
Yeah.
That's the whole agenda.
And like, what are some of the tips that you would like to give to people who are coming into stand up right now, who want to, like, I mean, kids, college students, anybody like who wants to try their hand at stand up?
I have a formula.
Mm-hmm.
It's I was thinking of saying something funny, but I can't think of anything. I usually tell this to a lot of comedians
Okay.
who ask me how to write and all of that.
Yeah.
I've done this myself,
Um.
and I think I'm going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I ask people to write 100 words
Mm-hmm.
that mean something to you.
Okay.
It could be a place,
Mm-hmm.
a dish, a person, a movie, a song, anything.
Mm-hmm.
When you write down those 100 words, and then when you take a break and you come back, you can reduce those 100 words to the top 25, 30.
Mm-hmm.
Those 25, 30 words should mean like everything to you.
Mm-hmm.
If someone says any one of those words, you should be able to just talk just as much as you want and tell them, then this happened, and then that
Yeah.
happened, and then this, and
Yeah.
then, you know more about this, I can tell you so much more about this. All of that.
Yeah.
That is that are the things that make you happy and make you sad and make you emotional. All of those things. And then you start writing things that you find funny. And today you can go watch on YouTube so many comedians. There are documentaries about comedians. There are interviews about comedians. You Google the 100 best comedians of all time. You get a whole list. Go find out why they are the 100 best comedians. So you just keep looking at the landscape from a much closer view.
Mm-hmm.
We are very lucky to be living in a time where all 60, 70 years of stand-up that has been created over time, we are the first generation that gets to see it up close.
Yeah.
the beauty and the beast about stand-up is that there is no shortcut. There is no formula
Yeah.
to do. Whatever you find funny, you have to go in front of a crowd and make them laugh. That is the reward. That is the work. That is the path. That is everything. That stage time is everything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't bypass it.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody is wanting to try stand-up, only thing I would say is write down what you find funny, look into the mirror, say it the way you'd like to say it, and then go find a crowd, sign up for an open mic, go to any place where you have people paying attention to you, and keep telling what you're trying to say to try and make them laugh. Don't try and memorize it to a point where you're delivering it like it's a speech. Don't present it. Say it the way you'd like to say it and see how people laugh, and then over time, as you get people to laugh more and more, you'll find more and more comfort in doing it almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be okay with being uncomfortable a lot
Yeah.
to do stand up, to
I mean, getting no laughs also.
all
right?
of that.
Yeah.
For first 4.5, 5 years, it was
You said like in a month you used to get 2 laughs. That must be like traumatic
it's just
for 3 years.
you go up on stage and you try and you say something and people don't laugh.
Yeah.
And when I first started doing stand-up, I would write down all the jokes. I'd be like, I'll tell this, I'll tell this, I'll tell this. And I would go up on stage and I would tell the jokes that I've written and nobody would laugh.
Yeah.
And then I decided to go up on stage and talk about my life
Mm.
and what happened to me and the things that I've observed without it being like a written joke.
Yeah.
And people started laughing more and more.
Yeah.
So that timing of you trying to share something about your own to the world or to the crowd that's come,
Mm-hmm.
and over time with being the craft is to learn how to say just the right amount of words for people to get what you're trying to say and do it at the right time
Yeah.
for them to build that expectation, and then you disappoint them.
Disappointed.
Yeah, because they're all like, you're like, I'm going to tell you about this, and then the punchline is like
Yeah.
something completely different. That's the whole gimmick is painting something like
Yeah.
there's a middle spot that's
Yeah.
empty.
Yeah.
You're painting the whole thing red,
Uh-huh.
and when you're trying to hit the last stroke, people are all like, this will definitely be red, and then while you touch it, it becomes
Blue.
fluorescent.
Okay, fluorescent.
Out of nowhere, the whole
Shit.
board. People are like, how? And then that surprise is what gets them. It has
Yeah.
to surprise them, still make sense while it surprises them.
Yeah.
So that's and you keep doing it, and it gets, you feel better
Mm-hmm.
about doing it
Mm-hmm.
over time. So
Amazing, man. So then, like, I'm sure, like, this is the last question. I'm sure, like, if you keep learning, you have to keep learning in order to, like, I mean, in what you're doing, right? Like, so how do you learn what materials? Like, I mean, do you watch stand up a lot? Do you read a lot? What's your learning process like?
recently it's been a lot of podcasts.
Okay.
Initially it was watching specials.
Hmm.
A
Yeah, you
lot of
have that
specials.
list.
The list is also there. The watching comedians in interviews is one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of books that I have read.
Mm-hmm.
I basically documentaries,
Mm-hmm.
specials,
Mhm.
interviews, books, movies,
Mm-hmm.
everything that has to do with stand-up
Mhm.
is what I generally try and consume over time.
Mhm.
You try and like gradually keep understanding more and more and more. And one good thing that I've enjoyed is talking about stand-up. Any place, wherever I go,
Mm-hmm.
there is no I've had enough of this conversation.
Yeah.
What conversation we've had about stand-up, if I were to go somewhere else and someone asks me, I will tell them the exact same
Mm-hmm.
conversation that I've had about stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that tires me out.
Yeah.
I
You
get more
enjoy
and more
that. Yeah.
energized by just
Mhm.
talking about stand-up. So from the like a century ago, when there was no media, there was an institution in the West called vaudeville.
Okay.
Do you know what
No.
vaudeville is? Vaudeville is like how you have the Bollywood industry
Mhm.
and Hollywood. Vaudeville was like this industry where there was a stage
Mhm.
and a huge hall
Mhm.
for people to sit,
Mhm.
and you'd have different acts on stage.
Mhm.
So because industrial revolution had started,
Yeah.
people had gone out and they wanted to do something, so they all flocked towards
Yeah.
this one hall in their city. And you had I read somewhere that there was like a 7-act structure. You would have 2 small acts, then 1 big act,
Mhm.
then again 1 small act, 1 big act, then again 1 small act, 1 big act, something like that.
That's 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
So 7 acts.
Mm.
In that there'd be showmanship of strength,
Mm.
where some guy will carry so many things in front of you, gymnastics, music, uh, acting, comedy was stand-up was one of those things, but it was very like presentation voice, like
Yeah.
people would present what they have to say, but very like they would put on a voice,
Okay. Mimicry and stuff.
not just mimicry, also if I were to tell you a joke now, when I'm talking to you, I'm talking like this,
Yeah.
but if I were to suddenly break into like, so 3 men walk into,
Got
you can
it.
see that it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
presentation. So that was mostly what it was, and then cinema took over.
Mm.
People started watching movies of comedians being in movies.
Hmm.
Buster Keaton
Yeah.
is one of my favorite
Yeah.
performers of all time. The Marx Brothers,
Mm.
the Three Stooges. Then came in a guy called Lenny Bruce, who was the first man who went up on stage and started sharing opinions
Mhm.
and talking to the crowd the way he's talking. He didn't put on an act, he was just talking how
Yeah.
he would talk, and he would say things that had obscenity and words that were deemed vulgar,
Uh-huh.
and he got banned by the government to perform because they would just protest against outside venues where he was performing.
Yeah.
George Carlin was the next guy in line who became like this big counterculture guy who was telling everything that was on his mind, and he has his own story. Richard Pryor was one of the guys who came in next, and over time we've had comedians. I've seen so many comedians start, become a big name, and keep doing stand up to like leave a legacy of. So when you see all of that, today we live at a point where you have all of this in the internet.
Yeah.
So if you were to just look up things, not with the intention of getting ahead,
Yeah.
but just as an admirer of looking at this art form that doesn't require another person.
Mhm.
It's you, your thoughts, what you find funny, and a crowd.
Yeah.
And that's it. In any other art form, there is like a delay in the gratification. Like you'll make a movie,
Yeah.
it's going to take you 3.5, 4 months to shoot, edit it, put it out. Then when people watch it and they laugh, that's the loop of thought to finish.
Yeah.
In stand-up, when you have a thought and you get up on stage, the moment you say it, it's received,
Mm.
and that's it. There is no
Production.
Yeah, there is no other future wait for what I have to
Yeah.
say in the future. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
You've come here for an hour. I've said things that I find funny. You've laughed in an hour maybe 35, 40 times,
Mhm.
hopefully, and you go back home.
Yeah.
It's like a transaction. It's like a ping pong game that goes on back and forth.
Uh-huh.
So that's what makes it that much more like enjoyable. And
That's nice, man. So, okay, now before we end, I usually play this game with this in my guests, wherein like I shuffle a few cards, and whatever card comes up, you answer in 12 seconds or less.
super.
Yeah. First one is, okay, who or what brings out the best in you?
Kelt Shrestha.
Okay. Nice, shout out.
Hey Kelt, I love you.
Okay,
12 seconds over.
yeah, so then what's your best time saving hack to get things done?
Lists.
Lists.
Write lists, write down everything. I have lists where I'll put things that I have to do on a daily basis, things that I have to do on a weekly basis, not with the intention of categorizing them separately, but just one full list of like, I want to do a hill station tour. I have to get my bike repaired.
Okay.
Just one after the other. In that list, there'll be so many things, and that just looking at that list will make me feel like, all right, I have to do all these things.
Yeah, that calms you down. Otherwise, you have everything in your head, and that'll drive you crazy.
Yeah. Even doing a mental checklist also helps.
Uh-huh.
When, like, as a kid, I remember once I was like feeling very anxious. I'm like, why am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
Okay, let's think. I was in 8th standard.
Yeah.
I have to polish my shoes. I do that after dinner. Cool. I have to finish the biology homework. I'll do that before eating dinner. I'll do that for sure. And I have to do this. I have to do that. And mentally, when I answered the questions that were there in my head, I felt like I have the answers.
Yeah.
Now following through is on me. I can't just be like, kar lunga, and then forget about it. So if I do it, it gives me a breather of like couple of hours of me not having anything on my mind. And then sometimes my brain itself will tell me, hey, biology, you said you'll do.
Yeah.
Do it. And I'll do it. And you feel like you've got things in place. So either writing down the list or mental checklist is what saves time for me a lot of the times.
Perfect. So what was your first job?
I was working as a tech support analyst.
Okay.
For a global service desk. Trying to help people how to switch on their computers. Helping them print for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Unlock their accounts because they entered 4 or 5 wrong passwords. That was my first full-time job.
Crazy.
In Bangalore.
Okay. Now, if you could work on... Okay, you're already working on a passion project. But if you could work on any passion project, what would it be?
I would want to do a large-scale book exchange show.
Wow. Okay.
Where if I were to have 200 seats in the audience, I would have like a lobby in front. And if I were to get books, some of the books that I want to give away that I'm done reading, I would ask people to bring books.
Next show, you could probably like have that in the itinerary itself. Like bring a book and we'll do a book exchange.
I've done that a couple of times in the past, but right now I feel like it's not as much in the crowd as I'd want it to be. Maybe soon I'll do that. But I'd want people to come, pick a book, leave a book, and go. So that is one passion project that I like to work on.
And last one, what's an emoji that you use often?
I think the wink emoji is what I use most often.
Okay.
I'm like, hey man. I'll tell Kelt, hey man, good luck for today's show.
Yeah.
That's generally how I chill.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much for making time today and coming here. I hope you enjoyed this.
I had a great time.
Yeah, I had a great time as well. Like listening your story, your journey, and your thoughts about the stand-up scene and about everything in general. Like we ventured into so many topics. I thoroughly enjoyed it. At one point I was like, oh damn, okay, this is like I was like lost in your world. I went into your story and everything and I'm imagining that. Then I was like, okay, I need to go to the next question also, remember that Rakshan. But I had a lot of fun.